We arrived in Perth in the early evening of Easter Sunday and headed to our base hotel for the next several days. The next morning we drove to Fremantle, the departure point for fast ferries out to Rottnest Island. Having left before sunrise, our first stop was the famous Rottnest bakery for coffee and goodies. The other reason is it is one of the best places to see quokka. Rottnest Island was named by the Dutch and translates to rat's nest, the Dutch thinking the large creatures on the island were rats. They were not. They are quokka, a relative to the kangaroo that is found only on the island and a couple others. Dubbed the cutest animal in the world, posing with one for a selfie has become huge for tourists. The poor things seemed not amused at times. Our other reason to go to the island was to go birding. There are several inland lakes with a wonderful trail around them that are the seasonal home for many birds. The island and the birding was wonderful. As the day progressed, we walked back to the coast to visit the famous lighthouse area and stopped for an afternoon refreshment, watching a storm front head our way. Within minutes, it started to pour. We tried to get on an earlier ferry, but the queue of people trying to get back early was so huge we headed back into the village and had dinner at a quokka-filled restaurant, with dessert from the bakery, with accompanying quokka. We managed to catch an earlier ferry back, saying goodbye to Rottnest Island.
The entire next day was spent with a birding guide and covered about a dozen areas around Perth. Probably one of our better birding days. We saw a lot of the Perth area, plus many new and endemic birds of the region.
Our final day we drove north, along the Indian Ocean Highway. Our first stop was Yanchep National Park, one of the oldest parks in Western Australia. It sits on part of a series of inland lakes that run north-south around Perth. Our primary reason to visit was to see the Carnaby's black cockatoo, an endangered bird endemic to the southwest corner of Australia. We also saw koala, introduced from the east about 100 years ago, many more new birds, and we had close encounters with kangaroos. We continued our drive up the Indian Ocean Highway, heeding the warning signs and spotting emu. The next stop was Lancelin, known for its sand dunes that go to the sea, filled with adventure seekers sandboarding and riding ATVs. We had lunch at a favorite stop for tourists and locals, the Endeavour Tavern, with its amazing ocean views. Another hour up the highway, we arrived at our destination, the area around Cervantes. Our first stop was Lake Thetis, one of the few places in the world where you can see living stromatolites, precursors to coral that have been around for over 1 billion years. As the afternoon was coming to a close, our final stop was Pinnacles National Park. The Pinnacles are a strange and unexplained geologic phenomena. Strange pillars of rock dot the desert landscape. You drive a dirt road round a path through them, and the big tourist attraction starts late in the afternoon. The late afternoon sun makes for an otherworldly sight of these strange formations, then followed by incredible sunsets. You stay past sunset for the real show. The Pinnacles are a dark sky reserve, one of the few places in the world where you can still experience truly dark skies. Shelley found a set of rocks she liked, so we set up for some night photography. It did not disappoint, with amazing views of the southern sky, the Milky Way, and the Magellanic Clouds putting on a show. After a harrowing night drive back to Perth, then a few hours of sleep, we were off on a morning flight to the centerpiece of the trip, our 2-week eclipse cruise leaving out of Darwin.